Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow. In today's episode, it's a really first of a series of episodes. I'm going to try to attempt to do something that I've not done before, but I always had the idea of, and that is to do a review on some written work about anime. Okay, so people have been using anime to write essays, to write like theses and documents, and obviously homework assignments and that kind of stuff about anime. And so in this episode is going to be a start of a long chain of episodes, because obviously to fully do an analysis on a written work, it may require me several episodes to go over different points and that kind of stuff. But um, this is one of these sort of rare situations I get to do this. So before I begin and talk about this, I want to remind people to go down below, click like, and click subscribe. Again, any sort of comments and things that you would write down does help the YouTube algorithm. So at least hitting that like definitely does really help. So do please do that. Again, if you want to support me financially, I do have the super thanks button available, as well as the PayPal and Patreon links. Again, I've now added a little more content to the Patreon. So again, if people who are interested in my new ebook that's out, I've now added video versions of that available now. Again, so again, you can go to the Patreon, you can log in for free, and again, I've made it so that any of the paid accounts, has access to that first ebook for free, and the video version you get a massive discount on it as well. So in case you would like to get a video version of the ebook, okay, as well as the audiobook as well. So do check that out. Link is below. Okay, so as I said, in this episode, I'm going to be going through and doing analysis on these written pieces of work. So people have obviously submitted either thesis documents or maybe their homework assignments, or that's for some of the writing, creative writing, or in this case it's whatever studies that they happen to be doing. Okay, and it uses a lot of references to anime, and part of the reason why I made this this channel is to inform people and to record and document history, of this age of anime that we've had in North America. And a lot of people who are doing this kind of research and that kind of stuff are having problems finding actual sources and actual information in regards to this era of anime. Okay, and and I've seen it from people from Crunchyroll and people from various different magazines and that kind of stuff are all interviewing different people and are trying to find information about the origins of how anime got this way. So in today's episode, I've come across a piece of writing. Okay, it does have this sort of a political sort of type of leaning towards it. Okay, and again, I don't want to talk politics and that kind of stuff, and most people don't really care, especially on this particular part of the channel, because my emphasis is on this again, documenting a time period in our history that that transpired and isn't well documented. Not very many people have written too many articles and that kind of stuff about it, and not too many people, especially from this particular era, have basically documented what exactly has gone on in this thing. And so what ends up happening is people tend to rely on things like Google and whatnot to write their essays and to get confirmation bias on their particular works. And this is particularly poor when Google does not show results for things that happened in the 1990s or the 1980s, right? They actually need some people, some interviews, and that kind of stuff to be made. And that's, primarily one of the main functions of my channel here, is to provide this documentation, to show you pictures, to tell you stories and accounts, show you merchandise and things that came from that, and how we came across it, getting this stuff, what this means, tie in things that happen in anime with things that are happening in real life. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to do with that. So again, this isn't a typical type of episode, and the way that I'm tackling this episode is maybe a little bit strange and very very long. Okay, but I assure you, even though we are touching a little bit on politics, do not pay attention to it too much because I won't delve too deeply into it. Okay, I'll touch on it, but I won't really get into why what particular things that happen on that, because there's a lot of factors and that kind of stuff, and that's not what this particular channel is really about to. But what I want to address, and which is the most important thing, is when people do research, okay, and they go and try to find information that supports their research, okay, and they use Google and that kind of stuff, this is confirmation bias. The fact that you're specifically looking for information and looking for essentially yes men, okay, people that will say yes to whatever you say, to basically confirm what you're writing. And of course, this is really poor scientific method, right? And since the topic is anime, I want to be this person that comes in and says, okay, using my own accounts, my own and whatever evidence and documentations and that kind of stuff, fan letters and newsletters, merchandise, art books, or whatever that happens to be, that I have available as a historic archive. I want to present it to you and tell my story in helping you understand and build this picture, the story. If you want to, kind of have a vision that's not just in front of you but around you, right? What are all the other factors that transcribe around you? So when I describe what the environment of, let's say, an anime convention in 1991, or some of the funny stories and conflicts and cosplay and that kind of stuff that happened at Comic-Con in '89. Okay, I want to not only tell you the story, I want to see if I can get you some pictures. I want to give you some context of why this is this particular thing happened. Was there any other things happening at the con that might have transpired? What about any sort of popular culture things that were also happening, or news stories that was happening at that particular time that has a significance of why this sort of thing occurred in anime? And this is what I want to present. Okay, this is the history part and the accounting part, and of course the recording of and documentating of this kind of history. Because as I said, um, we're all getting older, okay, and if we don't tell our story, if we don't get it, told in and documented, then we may become people like Carl Masek, Don Yee, Torrance Smith, all these people who are pivotal members of the anime community, but they're no longer around anymore, and they can't tell their story, and and all the things, whether or not good, bad, conflicts, their opinions on stuff, on how they handled things, and all the inside stories that we can't find on Google, and people didn't post on any sort of form, gets lost. Okay, that part of history is lost, and until someone comes through and documents it, maybe brings out some receipts and brings out some scripts or things of basically historical importance, okay, like these anime artifacts, if you will, okay, um, you know their story will never be fully, as I said, fully appreciated and fully understood, and then it'll be just basically left for interpretation. And one good example I just did a few episodes ago is the story of the most mysterious song on the internet. Okay, the mere fact that it is highly possible that most members of the band who wrote that song are no longer around. Even the producer that probably made that thing is probably, maybe, possibly no longer around. And with that, it may be very impossible to find out who exactly wrote that song and where it came from and that kind of stuff. And it may be just one of those untold, basically unsolved mysteries, right? And in this era, at this particular time, there should be no excuse for these untold mysteries or unsolved unresolved and unsolved anime things in history. Because as I said, we are still very, very young. As I said, we have entered a year of 40 years of anime in North America here. We should be able to have and document our own history and be able to do that, because as I said, we're not that old yet. Not that old yet, so let's get that. Okay, so anyway, I apologize for such a long opening. But yes, so here we're going to be in. I'm going to break this up into smaller episodes, and I'm going to kind of spread them out so that it's more digestible, and people can think about and do the different things rather than one big, huge 5-hour, 6-hour long video. Okay, so I'll break it up for you. All right. So without further delay, let's begin.
While spreadable misogyny is facilitated by anonymity, social media, and tactic endorsement from the media industries in valorizing masculinized modes of fan engagement, Scott emphasizes that it is the networking aspect that causes the most harm. Negative networking, discursive practices on rec.arts.anime were particularly harmful because they took place within the user's interactions, which made them subsequently define future semantic environments of online interactions. Wow, this is more barfing out barfing out words here. Jesus Christ. Okay, what do we got here? While spreading of misogyny is facilitated by anonymity, social media, and tactic endorsement from the media industries in valorizing the masculine modes of fan engagement. Okay, so what is this business? So, spreadable misogyny. Okay, so basically, the putting down of women and that kind of stuff. Okay, right? It's facilitated by anonymity, of course. So basically, by having pseudonyms and that kind of stuff, you can hide behind your identity, which was a common thing that happened. But of course, being the lawless state that rec.arts.anime was, that is highly possible, right? Social media, okay, doesn't exist at this time, all right? The whole, because you think, 1995, okay, no one's got cell phones except those big Motorola bricks, okay, or maybe in a little bit of time they'll come up with the little Nokia flip phone, okay, that has a little small screen, but there's no graphical interface, there's no smartphones, there's no Palm Pods don't exist yet. So what exactly are you talking about social media? Okay, there is none. So skip the BS. Okay, you've now basically what you've done is you've misplaced something that we have the convenience of in modern day, and misplaced it in a time period which it doesn't exist. Okay, that's like saying, "Wow, I wish I had laser guns back in World War II, because then I think the outcome would have been different." Well, yeah, because they don't have laser guns during that time period. Okay, just like get it straight. Okay, the tactic endorsement from media industries in valorizing masculinized modes of fan engagement. So what they're basically saying is, the media industry, so the companies or whatever, or maybe even the news groups itself, is glamorizing how men get together to celebrate anime. So yeah, let's go and have a hentai party. Yeah, guys aren't going around having hentai parties. They basically, are guys that are gonna, basically go and watch hentai by themselves. As the otaku word at this time, because again, at this time, otaku is still a bad word, okay, and it wasn't normalized until after 95. So the word is Oh, no. These guys are all living in their mom's basement, watching hentai, and they're poor, jobless guys, and they're like losers. They can't interact with women. Of course, the word that you would give them is they're incels. Okay, right? So you're saying that, oh, okay, the media, these companies promote this, and they're saying, yeah, this is the way, otakus should interact with anime, right? Not realizing that, yes, most of the people that go to conventions, even starting from like 1991 when Anime America came out, or even before when I was doing stuff, we were going down to San Diego Comic Con, okay? We weren't living in our basements, although I was in a basement, but of course I own the property, so it's not that the fact is I'm not living in my mother's basement. I am living in my basement because I own the property, right? Yeah, so the engagement is to go to cons, go and buy merchandise, go and build Gundam kits, and make figurines and that kind of stuff. Mod stuff to make costumes and that kind of stuff. That's what shall we say masculine modes of fan engagement. Okay. But sure, as the conventions started happening, 91 and that kind of stuff, the female audience started coming in. And when we hit 95, when Sailor Moon came out, man, how many Sailor Moon cosplayers came out at that time? It was amazing what came out. I mean, and I still have in my camera, and I still have on my page the exact time when I remember walking into the concourse of the Comic Con, and this huge group of female cosplayers came out, and they met the group of Star Trek Klingons, right? And they basically did a very impromptu pose of basically the Klingons on one side getting ready to attack, and then the female warriors all sort of posing, and they made this awesome cross picture, and it said great form of fan engagement. Had nothing to do with negative networking and the industries, i.e., the Comic Con. They weren't promoting masculine modes of engagement. Hey, if you wanted to dress up as a Klingon, sure, go ahead, female or male. You want to dress up as Sailor Moon, sure, go ahead, dress up as whatever you want. You want to crossplay? Fine. Man-Fae was a really big thing. Like that was a totally different sort of radical thing that happened back at that time. And fine, if the guy wanted to do that, he wanted to popularize it, fine. But that happened, okay? It wasn't, the industries were promoting them and that stuff. It's just guys doing what they want to do. Again, the predominant philosophy and the predominant thing that people were always doing was, hey, I want to do this, whatever it happens to be blank. I want to create a costume. I want to, I want to make a mobile suit cosplay. I want to, in my case, I wanted to make a Pat Labor costume, right? We basically said, hey, we're gonna figure out how to do this. We're gonna, make it. We're gonna make it work. We're gonna either get all the patches. We're gonna, get the sewing done or whatever, or find someone who's gonna do the sewing. Which, fortunately, thanks to Lyle's mom, we managed to get it all done up. But we basically had it all figured out. We basically we found and made a path to do it, and made the initiative to do it. It wasn't and that's if you want to call that a masculine mode, okay, if you wanted something to be handed to you, okay, okay, so it's not right. It is you have to take the initiative to do whatever you want to do. And again, one of the first things that came out in '95 is an immense amount of Sailor Moon cosplay, because that's one of the most popular things that triggered the female audience. And one of the most popular things, if you're going to do something like that for Halloween or whatever, hey, Sailor Moon costumes. if not Sailor Moon, then just the standard Sailor Furuku for students and that kind of stuff, right? And of course, this continued all throughout the 2000s. There was no restrictions and people marginalizing women for doing cosplay, because as I said, one of the most popular things that occurred for cosplay was things like Prince of Tennis. Okay, even though those are male-dominated characters and that stuff that was in that anime, tons and tons of female cosplayers dressed up in Prince of Tennis tennis outfits. Okay, because they liked it so much. No problem. No one forced them to say, "Oh no, you can't do that because that's a male costume." No, 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 no. They wanted to make a Prince of Tennis. Sure, no problem. So I don't know what's this comment saying there's all negative influences. I think it's just, again, it's the fact that you're taking you said an archaic system, which was very limiting. It's hard to get any sort of individuality out of that, and trying to transplant it into a modern era sort of situation where everyone has their flexibility and everyone can do what they want to. Just put their mind to it, and you can do that. So they can continue here. Negative networking discoursive practices on anime were particularly harmful because they took place within the user's interactions, which made them subsequently define future semantic environments of online interactions. So here's your problem, okay? So you're basically saying that, okay, back in, let's say, before 1995, okay, all this negative networking practices. So you might have encountered the 1 of 1,000 messages that came through, or it's one of those 7 negative networking things that you've encountered, and you consider that extremely harmful because they happened when you, the user, was browsing through those messages. Okay, so i.e., oh my god, I gotta wade through 150 messages of this. Next. Oh, this is spam. This is somebody's other reply. This is another message where some guy said ha ha ha. Okay, next. So you're going through all the crap. Okay, and you get this one odd message that says, are there any female users here? I'm trying to get a looking for Japanese girlfriend T-shirt or something, right? And then you can consider, that's a 1 in 1,000 message. That's offensive. Okay, and then what? You're saying that person is now traumatized and and saying that, okay, oh my god, if I go to a convention, I see a looking for Japanese girlfriend T-shirt, I'm going to go into epileptic seizures or something like that. I mean, is that what the conclusion you're trying to draw here? Is that people, because of one of these negative networking practices, and they run across one of these 1 in 1,000 messages that you come up to, that it's so harmful. You say that it is. We're particularly, okay, not decisively or absolutely harmful or certifiably harmful. Okay, so no measurement of how much harm. Okay. Because they took place within the user's interaction. So, i.e., you had to be interacting with the news groups to be able to expose yourself to this harm. No, duh. It's like, gee, it's the situation of you were at the crime scene when the crime happened. So no, duh, you might be traumatized because you were at the crime scene when the crime occurred. As opposed to, this thing happened, this crime happened, but I was across the city. I was not there. So because I wasn't interacting in the, whatever, the nightclub or whatever that the crime scene has occurred, obviously I'm not harmed. Or I'm not particularly harmed by this random event that happened that I wasn't there for. Like, no, duh, you had to be there. You had to be interacting for this to occur. It doesn't it doesn't sort of find where it's not like a seeking missile saying, yeah, here's this 1 in 1,000 message. We'll automatically email that 1 in 1,000 message to you wherever you are, even if you're not paying attention. How does that make any sense? It doesn't, right? So it matters, just as I said, stating the obvious, right? And then you can say, okay, so this then made them subsequently define future semantic environments of online interaction. So this one sort of interaction, let's say it is a very benign comment like, gee, I wonder if anyone has or where to get I'm looking for a Japanese girlfriend T-shirt, which was, I said, at that time was pretty popular actually. A lot, some otakus were wearing that kind of a T-shirt, right? Or looking for anime girlfriend or something like that. That kind of T-shirt, people did wear. Okay. And of course, there's other kind of T-shirts like I'm into glomping. Okay, and again, if you remember, there's this whole type of thing, this phenomenon called glomping. That's where people just kind of run up to you and give you a hug, kind of thing, or kind of drape themselves over you, kind of thing, right? Kind of tackle you, as it were, right? Again, you can call that, negative networking. Oh no, people are approaching me without my permission, or people are touching me without my permission. Of course, yes, this is a negative thing, but it isn't because of your gender. It's just because, I'd argue that most of the people who did the glomping were females, right? So, it goes both ways, right? So basically, yeah. So here the person is basically tying the link, that the fact that this negative networking, when experienced, and of course you had to experience it when you're on the news groups, this is so traumatizing and so defining. Okay, that's the US word. So shaping of your experience, that all future interactions on this news group or on the internet, online, okay, so all other online transactions are now phased by this thing. Okay, like I said, I can see where you're trying to go with this, but where is your evidence? Where's some proof that X number of people have been traumatized? We've done these studies, and these people are now on seeking therapy, or or the fact that Trish Ledoux had been experienced all this kind of stuff. Where is her evidence that you show that she's been subsequently affected in all future online interactions? Like, has she been traumatized and she now no longer uses Facebook the same way, or how about her messages and that kind of stuff? Does she still do the same thing? Has she been, jaded in any sort of way? Have you shown any of that kind of stuff? No. See, that's the problem. You never showed any link. You just spewing this stuff out, assuming that all the stuff does transpire. Not a very scientific method, as it were.
Thank you for sticking along and basically staying with it for this long. I really appreciate that. I said again, this is not typical content that I like, that I like to to do, and but I think it's very interesting. Not so much for the the topic or whatever of the particular essay here, okay? Because I don't that's probably that's politics and that kind of stuff is something I don't want to get into on this particular channel. But again, the importance of is correctly documenting events that happened in the past, especially in this very important golden era part of anime, and making and setting the record straight. You can make your own interpretations, and as when I remember when I took when I was on jury duty, okay, someone made a very prolific statement, okay, which really shaped the way how I think and interpreted things. And this is what he said. You can choose to not believe, partially believe, total believe, none, some, or all of the evidence. Okay? So think about that. You can either, and this is it. There's, you've provided 6 different possibilities for one particular type of outcome. So if someone presents you a piece of information, you can choose to 0% believe none of it. Okay, like you have no confidence in it. You can have some belief or some particular confidence of some level, or you can be totally invested in believing this thing. Okay, but also you can also choose to believe none of the evidence. So, if multiple pieces or one piece of evidence that has different facets of it, you can choose to believe none of that. Maybe some parts of the evidence you deem credible and you will believe some parts of that. Or you trust the evidence, okay, so you fully believe that this evidence is 100% all parts of the evidence, so all the evidence as a whole, and you can choose to believe none of it, some of it, or all of it. And you can choose what level you believe it to, whether or not you just decide to 100% with or 0% confidence in any parts of that, partial confidence in 0 to all of it, or 100% confidence in none or all of it. Okay? Seems kind of confusing, but at the same time, it really resonated with me about how you would learn to interpret things and take the parts that you want to, that you feel credible, okay, and then you can analyze that using critical thinking to determine whether or not you wish to add this to your base of knowledge or disregard it as just total fluff. Or maybe something in the middle. Partially you agree with certain parts, you don't agree with certain parts, you feel fuzzy about certain parts, but you're confident that the evidence is actually true, but you're not really sure. Well, that's so it handles all the different gray zones, both positively on that. So again,
the goal here is to train your mind how to see the world differently, how to question what others say. I've come to realize that there are 3 categories of truth: personal truth, political truths, and the objective truths that shape our understanding of the universe. The interesting thing about an objective truth is that it's true no matter what. Imagine that.
That's just something one story I like to reflect on. But again, we have more episodes of this. This is a fairly long essay, but as I said, I'll split up the episodes and have more of that again. So thank you for staying on this long. But again, don't be turned off by the fact of the topic that this is about. Because I'm not going to try to cover the politics and that kind of stuff a little bit. I'll touch on it a little bit just because I have to. But for the most part, I want to stick to the history. All right. So thank you again, and I will see you in the next episode. So until next time, I will see you again.